Hey guys, welcome back for another LitReview, where I dumb down scientific journal articles to my level. So today, going away from the biomechanics paper that we've been doing for the last month or so, we are going to talk about wounds today. And the title of the paper is Frequency of Debridements and Time to Heal, a retrospective cohort study of 312,744 wounds. The authors of this paper are James R. Wilcox, Marissa J. Carter, and Scott Covington. So before we get started, let's talk about what debridement is. Debridement is basically a removing of dead tissue from a wound. For a wound to heal properly, you need healthy tissues on the wound bed for cells to start working from the perimeter of the wound to kind of come in and heal. Okay? But sometimes when you have a dead tissue from necrosis or from the etiology of the wound itself, those dead tissue will kind of block the way of healthy tissues to make skin to heal the wound. So what debridement does is it basically removes the dead skin from the wound for a wound to heal properly. So when you, for example, when you fall down and scratch your knee, you have a superficial wound. There's a little bit of blood, and after a while you get a scab, and scab is basically a dead tissue. But we are not told to basically remove the scab, because scab acts like a kind of roofing of the wound. So the body is healing underneath the scab. But eventually the scab disappears because your body kind of pushes away that dead tissue by having the healthy skin grow up, essentially, or form underneath the scab. And what we call that is autolytic and debridement. And it's just a body way of debriding that dead tissue, aka scab. And there are other types of debridement. There are mechanical debridements where you see in clinic and hospital settings, where you have whirlpools, where you have the little current water tank with a current applied to it, where it pushes away that tissue away, kind of like washes away. Also, you have a pulse lavage, where it's like a water gun with a little high pressure on it to debride away that tissue, and also like a wet to dry dressing is also a mechanical debridement. Another type of debridement is what we call enzymatic debridement, where enzymatic compound like Santal is a brand name, but it's essentially a collagenase that is applied over the dead tissue to kind of eat away that tissue to have the open wound visible. Has healthy tissue visible. And just lastly, there are surgical and biosurgical debridement, where you go to the operating room and basically remove that tissue. And sometimes when you have like a bone infection like osteomyelitis, that's what the podiatrists do. They go into the operating room and they debride away the dead bones and all the dead tissue. So there are different types of debridement. And debridement is important because it allows, like I said before, healthy tissue to be present on the surface of the wound, and it allows the healthy tissue on the periphery to come in and heal. And the keratinocytes on the periphery allows that to happen along with the healthy granular tissue of the wound bed. So what the retrospective study of this paper illustrates is that they looked at about 530 wound care centers, and they got around 150,000 people with around 300,000 wounds. And there are three types of wounds that they classified as: traumatic wound, venous leg ulcers, and diabetic foot ulcers. And the etiology of these wounds are different. But they looked at, all these wounds require debridements for it to heal. So they looked at how much debridement they need to basically heal. So out of the 300,000 wounds that they looked at, the heal percentage of the wounds were 70.8%. That's pretty high. I think it's like 7 out of 10 people basically got the wounds healed. And out of those 70%, the highest percentage of the group that healed was traumatic wounds, basically with 78% of them healed, while the lowest percentage of the group type of wounds that healed were about 58% with pressure ulcers. And they also found out the median number of debridements that require for wounds to heal were 2. They also found that between different specialty of the doctors, like vascular surgeon, podiatrist, and family physician, vascular surgeons tended to debride fewer times compared to podiatrists and family physician. Another thing they found out was some factors that allow wounds to heal quicker. Being a male allowed your wounds to heal quicker. It's most likely from just a different physiology compared that to a female. We have different hormones, different immune system, different level of immune system and such, so that will probably result in different outcome in terms of wound healing. They also found that if your wound is bigger, like in terms of the area, and deeper in terms of the depth, you're gonna obviously take longer to heal. So you're gonna have an increased time of wound healing compared to a smaller and shallower wound. And also they found that if you have a wound that is older, like a chronic wound, it's gonna take longer to heal. And if the patient of the wound is older, then it's going to take longer to heal. That makes sense because as you get older, your immune system is a little bit compromised compared to that of a young person, and your body's just old. So logically, those variables will make your wound healing longer. So, and one other thing they noted was that the frequency, how often you debride also matters. Like if you debride, like for example, first day of the month and you debride the next month, then you're not gonna be reaping the benefit of the wound debridement. They noted that anything more than 2 weeks between each debridement session they made a significant difference of it won't heal as fast. So generally in clinics, we tell the patients to come back after a week, we change the dress after we change the dressing after we debride. So you want ideally between every week to see a wound patient until you get that wound closed. And one thing to note, it wasn't in the paper, but this doesn't mean that you debride every single wound that you see. There are some wounds that sometimes you should not debride. Like for example, arterial ulcers where the etiology is the lack of blood supply. You don't debride that because the area in that wound will probably be dead to begin with. If you debride it, what you end up doing is you're just making the wound bigger. And also there are other illnesses, sometimes like pyoderma gangrenosum, where you shouldn't really debride it. You should be looking at the etiology of the wound and fix it. So that was just about this paper. Essentially, like in conclusion, in order to close wound, in order to treat patients with wound, you need to see them as often as you can, like every week, and you need to debride aggressively to get the wound closed. So this was a retrospective study. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and tune in for our next one. Thanks for watching.